Hello, I am Vicky Manitou Okas. Welcome and thank you for joining me today. Um, it is January, and so I have brought my sustainability and resiliency projects into the house for the time being. So I came across some really good deals on some produce at the grocery store. So we're going to do a few projects with that produce and show you how I make some of the things that I make for myself. All right, thank you, and let's get started. Deal on garlic and peppers, turmeric, a few different things that they were putting on the discount rack at the grocery store. So I stocked up. And today we're going to use that to make some fire cider. I'm just kind of a novice and an amateur, but I ran across Rosemary Gladstone's recipe for a fire starter, so I have been making that for myself so that I function better. I am not going to make any recommendations for anybody else, but this is basically how I make fire cider, starting from Rosemary Gladstone's base recipe. And the best thing to do is to use a glass jar, but I do not have a recycled glass jar, so I use the mayonnaise jar. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is it's better to use fresh horseradish, but I would have to buy it. So this is just old-fashioned horseradish in the jar. I forgot to spoon. Okay, and we're going to measure out a quarter of a cup of horseradish. This is just grated horseradish. And vinegar and salt. So this is just like what my grandpa used to make. Hey. And a couple of cinnamon sticks. The recipe calls for cayenne pepper, but I could not find cayenne, so we're going to use the jalapenos were on sale, so we're going to use some jalapenos instead. Let's stick a couple jalapenos in there. I've already washed these up. I'm going to put them in, seeds and all, because the seeds and the membrane on the inside is what carries the heat. This doesn't need to be chopped up fine, but you cut it up a little bit, chop it up a little bit, and the oils will infuse into the vinegar better. Okay, so onion, one chopped onion, the skins probably would not matter. Watch your fingers. Okay, it calls for a quarter of a cup of garlic, this fall I used my own garlic, but I'm out, so just bought some at the grocery store. Just chop it up a little bit. I'm going to put this in skins and all, because that'll get strained later. The finer you chop garlic, the better it is. I'm not going to get carried away with it today. Get that down in there. All right. There's the garlic, or the ginger. So I'm going to save a couple of the best pieces of that. Okay, because I'm going to plant my own ginger. I planted some last summer. And you see that's starting to grow, so I'm going to save that piece. Okay, look that over. So that piece I'm going to keep. All right. I'm going to trim this up. Anything that's not good. And I'm just going to peel that if you want. This is going to get strained out, so I'm not going to bother. And about a quarter of a cup of ginger, and I'm just going to guess. Just thin slice. Quarter cup into the jar. I'm not using the cutting board for this because there's a member of the family that's allergic to ginger. So I do not want to get ginger on the cutting board. But normally just use the cutting board. Okay. Now, the turmeric. Got the same amount of turmeric. And again, I'm going to keep that best root for to grow. Right. Alright, I'm going to give these a quick rinse and cut those up. Okay, rinse them off. Okay, I'm going to cut those up just like I did the ginger. Again, smaller is better. Oh, that smells so good. Smell that turmeric. Yeah, turmeric is one of those things that's used as a dye plant, so you want to be a little bit careful not to get that turmeric juice on clothes or anything else that you don't want stained. That's looking pretty full, but I think that's gonna pack down nicely. settle once I put the vinegar in it and give it a good shake. This is kind of a folksy way of doing this. Seat of the pants. There's other herbs that you can use. Make sure you get that good and full. Everything in there has got to be completely covered with the vinegar, with no air bubbles. All right, so I got to looking at those jars, that jar of fire cider, and I decided that I had it fuller than I really wanted to have it. So I split it into 2 jars, added 1 more pepper, 1 more cinnamon stick, and a little bit more ginger and turmeric. I'm going to add just a little bit more horseradish to each jar. Okay. And since I couldn't find my rosemary, I misplaced it somewhere, I went and harvested some more sprigs of rosemary off of my little rosemary bush. Okay, I'll put some of that in each jar. Just a little bit. Okay. And then we'll fill both of those jars with vinegar. I'm much happier with that. Make sure that those herbs are thoroughly covered with vinegar. Get that a little stir. That's much better. Okay, you gotta have everything covered with the vinegar so you don't get spoilage. Put the lid on it. A little bit of a shake. This is a recycled jar, so recycled glass jar, which I'm much happier with than the plastic, but I don't have a big enough jar and the recycled. So, and that is the beginnings of the fire cider. It will I will let that steep for at least 4 weeks before I strain that out and add a little bit of honey to each jar and we'll have some good fire cider to for me to have for early. Hey, it has been about a month and the fire cider has been brewing. I've been shaking it every day. So I've got my trusty measuring pitcher and a little strainer and a little bit of old tool. Okay, so stay there. It is time to strain the fire cider. So we're going to open that up. And strain that through the tool. Empty out the entire jar. Rinse that jar out. Gather up the tool. Squeeze. Squeeze all that good out of there. Okay. I'm going to empty that out and strain the other one. Get all that good stuff squeezed out of there. There you go. Of honey. So I've got about 3.5 cups of fire cider. I'm going to add enough honey to bring that up to the full 4 cups. Let's take that lid off. I think I'll take the lid off. Okay. Sometimes when the lids are stubborn, a rubber band around the lid gives you enough grip to get that off. Okay. Yeah. About 1/2 cup of honey. So I'm going to bring that up to the 4-cup measure. All right, all of that honey is dissolved in there, I think. Okay, so there's the jar. It's nice, washed it out. Okay, so all I'm going to do is put this back into the jar. Jar of fire cider. Now I've got too much to go in that jar, so I've got another one here. Oh, that's got a nice bite to it. Very nice fire cider.